Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Tour Confidential on Golf.com, presented by FootJoy, the #1 shoe in golf. I'm Jessica Marksbury, joined today in our New York City studio by Golf Magazine's Alan Bastable and Golf.com's Eamon Lynch. Tiger Woods returns to competitive golf this week at the Quicken Loans National. Now, what's the state of his game? Quite frankly, as bad as it's ever been. Eamon, he's coming off of 2 missed cuts in the last 2 major championships. What are your expectations for Tiger this week?
What constitutes reasonable expectations for the 266th ranked player in the world making the cut? And I would frankly be surprised if he did that. He was horrendous in St Andrews, and there's no way to sugarcoat that. It was not a demanding golf course, and he was horrific. He fatted it off the first tee. His tournament was over before he got to the first green on Thursday morning. To go from that to expecting anything beyond mediocrity this week, I think, is a bit of a leap.
As Eamon mentioned, Alan, it wasn't even close in those major championships. It wasn't as though he was, struggling on the cut line on Friday afternoon. It wasn't even close, not a chance.
Yeah, 76, 75 at a golf course that he has pretty much owned in 3 previous British Opens. This is how bad it's gotten for Tiger. He needs to win his own tournament next week just to qualify for the FedEx Cup playoffs. He's, as Eamon mentioned, he's outside 250 in the world now. Obviously, will not be playing at Bridgestone, at Firestone, which is a golf course that he absolutely loves. He's won there 7 times, top 50 in the world. See him at the PGA. It's probably going to get even uglier there. That is not an easy golf course if you're not in it straight. If you're not owning your game, you're going to really struggle there.
Eamon, it's a historically bad year for Tiger. It's as bad as it's ever been, as I mentioned earlier. Is there a chance he doesn't play the PGA Championship if things continue to go south this week?
Sure. He, obviously, as Alan said, he's not eligible for Firestone. This could be Tiger's last start of the year. If it is not good this week, there's a reasonable assumption that he may not choose to take his game to Whistling Straits because he could shoot a couple of 85s out there. And the potential negatives for what could go wrong at Whistling Straits are an awful lot worse than the unlikely positives that could come from a halfway decent performance. It's very possible we may not see Tiger again until Torrey Pines or Phoenix or something next year.
I think that's highly unlikely. I don't think he's going to skip a major because, as we know, he's getting on in years a little bit. I don't think he's going to let these opportunities slip by, even if he's not, obviously on top of his game. And obviously, it's not a golf course that's necessarily going to suit him very well.
But is it an opportunity though? It's a 2-day commitment for him at this point.
Probably not, but you said he could shoot 85, 85. That hasn't stopped him from showing up any other tournament this week and shooting in the 80s. So I think we'll definitely see him there. You look at his schedule, this is all we know. He's got Quicken Loans, he's got PGA, and then he's playing something called the America's Cup, which I've never heard of, in October down in Mexico. Whether or not he'll play a couple of other silly season events or whether he'll just shut it down and try to rebuild the swing. He's been rebuilding now for a couple of years. We'll find out.
Well, I think what's also a little bit disconcerting is we've used the word delusional before. Tiger seems in complete denial about the state of his game. Every time he speaks to the media, it's about how he expected to contend at St Andrews, how he was ready to contend at Chambers Bay. And it seems like, is he watching himself? I mean, to everyone else who's watched Tiger over the last 2 decades, it just seems unfathomable that he would believe he's close.
Well, we're the only people who go out there and say we suck, knowing we're going to suck. Tiger's not going to do that. Belief is everything in that game. Jack Nicklaus was once asked why it was that putting was the first thing to go among great players. It drove them all out of the game. And Jack's response was because putting is entirely about confidence, and the older you get, the less sure you are about anything. I think that applies throughout the game. Tiger has no belief in any part of his game right now, and he has no reason to have any belief in any part of his game right now. But you can't go out there and say, I expect to shoot a couple of 80s and head home on Friday night. At that level of athleticism, competing at the highest level in your sport, you're not going to go out there and say that.
Well, there's no doubt this will be a very important week for Tiger with the PGA Championship just around the corner. Eamon and Alan, thank you so much for your time and insight. And thank you all for joining us here on Tour Confidential on Golf.com, presented by FootJoy, the #1 shoe in golf. We'll see you right back here next week.